Hi, I'm Joshua Kaitan Lucas.
And I'm Yaser Chow. Welcome to our brand new podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about DEI. I found a very interesting clip on the internet that I'm going to show Josh, who has never seen this clip before.
Excited.
And our goal is to
Have a discussion.
Yeah.
Just see where it goes. Just have a combo.
If this is entertaining to you, we don't have a name for our show yet.
So yeah, if you have any ideas, feel free to comment down below. And if this is interesting at all to you, like and subscribe. I watch a lot of YouTube, so I know to say that stuff.
And if you hate us, drop it in the comment section because we hate you too.
I don't hate you, but I will take what you say to heart and it will hurt me.
All right, let's get into it. I'm going to show the clip to Josh, and then if you haven't seen the clip, I'm actually going to play it over this video.
Cool.
So you guys can watch the clip as Josh is watching the clip.
All right.
Everybody's watching it at the same time.
All right.
Except for me, I saw it already. So I'm going to pull out my laptop here. I don't know if you've seen this clip.
Oh, this dude. I've seen this dude a bunch.
But have you seen...
Recently, it's probably all from the same show. So what is this show?
Let's just watch the clip,
and
then we can discuss it later. Okay?
Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power.
DEI essentially provides tax cuts for the end of the year. When you create your tax returns, they give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color.
We're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. Government agencies...
They don't.
No.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
every private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of this entire...
Okay, wait. I saw just that, I saw that little bit where he says government agencies don't get tax cuts, and then the guy said, yes, they do, in his face. I saw that. I didn't see the first part of that. So when we were in the Marines, right, they took taxes out of our paychecks.
Of course.
So, but
income taxes.
Income tax. But yeah, it wouldn't make sense to tax the Marine Corps, right? Because
the Marine Corps doesn't generate revenue. Right? They are a government service.
Right.
We are generating revenue, so we pay income tax.
Right, like our own personal revenue, right? You mean?
Yeah. Our income.
Okay.
First of all, can we just talk about Sam Seder's face?
Sam Seder is that dude? The host?
Yeah.
Okay.
He dies inside. He's like, wait.
Okay, I kind of think I might know what you want to show me. Because I saw something else where he was talking with someone else, a white woman.
Oh, that one was bad.
Okay, so
that one was bad.
That's not what you wanted to show me. That's what I thought you were going to show me when
I just wanted to show he kind of roast this guy a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I was going to just show you.
Oh, okay. I want to see the roast.
I'll just show you the roast.
All right. I wanted to at least get past
of this entire conversation.
What month is this?
This is January.
Okay, so we can agree on that. The FDA...
That's it.
Wait, so what is this show?
It's a YouTube channel called Jubilee.
Okay.
It's always this 20 versus 1 debate. So it's
he's always the one, or
no. They rotate it. So in this one, it's one college dropout. Sometimes it'll be one not high school graduate versus 20 college graduates.
Yeah.
Or one rich person versus 20 poor people.
That's interesting.
And they're having debates about issues and topics of the choosing of the single person.
And what was the scenario here?
This was Sam Seder basically was 20 conservatives versus 1 liberal.
Okay.
But I'm curious to hear about your initial reactions. So I watched the entire interview.
Okay.
It's 60 to 90 minutes long, and essentially my biggest takeaway was the blatant misunderstanding of all of these Trump supporters with respects to how things are running in the government, or who is benefiting and not benefiting from the Trump administration. They just, to me, I'm just one person, it didn't really feel like these young people even understood like what the heck was happening.
Yeah, and
And this is a perfect example of that, where this guy's just like, government agencies are receiving tax cuts for hiring black people or people of color.
or
And
women or gay people.
Yeah,
DEI, right?
And he's like, Sam's response is like, government doesn't pay taxes.
Right.
And he's like, yes, they do.
Right. Well, I mean, I had to get that clarification because we don't always know or understand what we don't know. And we go through life having these perceptions or misconceptions that don't really go corrected because we're not really having these conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, he is 20 conservatives and 1 liberal. It's like they're essentially forced, because they're on camera, to sit down and have a conversation with someone, a smart person who knows what they're talking about, that it has a different perspective, different life experience, different take on how things should work, why things, different takes on why things are not working. And from what the reality is that media is going to, and by media, I don't necessarily only mean the news. I don't only mean social media. I don't only mean movies, TV, YouTube. I mean,
I feel like, what else is there?
No. I mean the collection of all of it. Media as this thing, this force that has the capacity and ability to shape opinion, shape thoughts, shape, reinforce beliefs or stereotypes, or show people, or show certain people other people that play against the stereotype, and say, like, we were talking at brunch today about Menace to Society, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm happy that we're talking about this, obviously. But what Menace to Society accomplished was to show, essentially, to like the white majority in the early 90s or early to mid 90s, when that movie came out, that like the notion of the young black male, right, coming around and terrorizing white neighborhoods, communities, or just communities broadly, right, is a fallacy, or was a fallacy. It's that, it's whatever is. Let me rewind. It's a way of what Menace Society was able to accomplish was to say, like, look, you may have this idea that young black men in their late teens, early 20s are generally menaces to society, but what people are doing are just trying to live, trying to survive, and sometimes it's really fucking hard. And all the while, they are labeled from the onset, without having done anything,
Right.
as menaces to society.
Right.
And I think that the importance of media is that when that movie came out and was a hit, it opened people's eyes to that very truth. That, like, what we expected of young black men might not necessarily be
The truth.
the actual truth.
Right.
And that's why, not playing against stereotypes, but revealing more of people's reality, of like Sonder. You were the one that teach me about Sonder. The recognition that everywhere you look, everyone is having a complete human experience.
Right.
Just like you are.
Yep.
Full of complications and difficulties and joys and relationships and all these things. And all of those things influence how we live our lives. One of the most powerful of those things is media, because media is not directly around us. Literally.
It's like everywhere.
It's like everywhere.
Right.
It permeates.
But and it's changed a lot, right? Since when we were growing up, where like the media could only be defined as news agencies, television,
Movies, TV, newspapers. Yeah.
But now in 2025, everybody actually has a voice and has an opportunity to create media.
Which interestingly almost has turned things into no one really has a strong voice.
And do you think it adds clarity, or I feel like it's adding way more fog into the noise?
Well,
Because media consumption and creation, including this video, right, in and of itself is like there's truth and then there's opinion, and over time a lot of people have become unable to differentiate the two.
Yeah.
Right, and then they get confused, and they create their perspective, and then their actions based on what they believe to have been true. And for instance, even with this guy who's like, government agencies get private and government agencies get tax credits for hiring black people. DEI is racist against white people. Like, if you watch the whole YouTube video, like, that's kind of the ultimate kind of point that they're trying to prove, which was never the case with DEI, right? Like, I as a brown person, and I have seen DEI initiatives, and kind of like the ultimate goal of DEI. Well, that was never the case.
What is the ultimate, from where you sit, what is the ultimate goal of DEI?
I think the ultimate goal of DEI was always to give opportunity to those people who may not be given the glance. And
that's not a goal. That's like that is, if that itself is the goal.
No, and let me elaborate. Let me elaborate,
yeah.
Because perhaps I'm explaining it incorrectly. I'm not giving.
No. I want to hear what you have to say. Sorry.
So there's a couple of things, right? There's unconscious bias and conscious bias in your decision making when hiring, and I am personally guilty of it. And I'll tell you right now, I have people hit me up all the time on LinkedIn, and they're like, "Hey, you have a great career. I would love to pick your brain and learn from you. Like, how do I get into finance? How do I get a job at Google?"
Yeah.
For those uninitiated, I work at Google in finance, and I get so many of these messages that I'm like, no, I'm busy. I got my own thing going on. Like, I do not have time for it. But if someone hits me up and they went to University of Florida, or they were in the United States Marine Corps, I'll try to make the time. Like, any of those two criteria, I'm making the time. So in a world such as like Google, or like JP Morgan, or like any big bank or reputable company, there's going to be an army of employees who went to Stanford, they went to Harvard, they went to Yale, right? DEI is not just about race, right? It's looking at the pool of candidates and saying, like, everyone didn't go to Harvard, but there's lots of great candidates out there. And there's this kind of like thought process I have in my head where there's like, there are people who are good enough, but don't get the glance. So if I have 5 candidates, right, and they're all white with the exception of a black guy, and then I look at the demographic of my employee pool, I can look at all 5 of those people and say, they're all good enough. Everyone is qualified.
Yeah.
DEI was never about hiring unqualified people. I would never hire an unqualified pilot to fly a plane.
Right.
You have to be qualified, minimum.
Right.
Now there are people who are more qualified, but I don't always need someone more qualified. For instance, I'm not going to hire Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, for an entry-level software engineering job. He's obviously qualified, but that's not he's going to become quickly unsatisfied. He's going to become quickly demoralized.
Yeah.
And he's being held back. He might be qualified for the job, but he's being held back. So you don't always want to get the world's best person. You don't need the best person. You need the person good enough. And then when you have a glance and you say, like, hey, look, there's 5 people, only one of them is black.
Yeah.
And then you can reflect and say, like, all 5 of these people are black. And then you can reflect and look back at your own employees and say, hey, we are a company that's 95% white. having a diverse perspective would be beneficial for us. And a perfect example that I always use is if you are a silverware company and you're like, I want to expand into Asia. You want to expand into India, right? But your entire employee base are Americans, not even white Americans. Let's call it Americans.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And they don't understand how they could expand into these international markets. They don't understand how they could penetrate. And they're doing the same old things that worked in the United States, and it just doesn't work in India, and it just doesn't work in Asia, in East Asia. And so, but you hire an Indian person, and you hire like an Asian person, and you come with a perspective of like, oh, well, actually, in East Asia, we eat with chopsticks. We don't use forks and knives, right? In India, we eat with our hands. We don't really use forks and knives, right? It's like a different, even like understanding, right? It's like the diversity of perspective, the diversity of understanding.
Yeah.
If you are building a company, you are building a society or a government agency that serves a wide demographic of Americans, you can't just fill the entire place with one type of person and expect it to be successful. You can't address the issues of other people with data on a spreadsheet.
But that right there runs contrary, I think, to my, at the very least, it runs contrary to my understanding of corporate America, right? Like, I don't see the humanity. I see us sort of being just put into demographic pools, and maybe they've accumulated however much information they've accumulated on me from my internet usage and my phone and all this stuff. And so they think that they have some pretty good understanding of who I am, what my political beliefs are, what my social beliefs are, my morals are, my habits, my porn.
Sure. Google Google and Meta maybe.
No, but they sell it. But yes, but they sell it. So they may have a broader understanding of who we are. But if you are another company who like is looking for a type of person who is going to buy their product, well, they think that I am that type of person based on the demographics that have been annotated about me, and so Google will, or whoever will sell, right, my information.
I want to pause you right there because Google doesn't sell your data.
Whatever. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. Google doesn't sell your data, people.
I don't know. When they dropped the "Don't be evil" moniker, I was like, oh no. I literally was like, this feels like a big deal to me. I know it's like kind of like a cute little thing to say, like "don't be evil," but like I found comfort in that. You know, that's a good mantra to have.
I understand what you're saying. And I do think that there is companies are trying to reach you, and you think that there's like all of this data out there that allows them to reach.
That's what I see.
That's true.
Right. That's what I see.
That's true.
And you know, I see the same thing in government, right? Like in government, we're all look at a census, right? That's who we are. We are that group, wherever we fall on a census, you know, white, male, married, no kids, 40 years old, 35 to 45 or whatever, however it's listed on a census, yada, 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 yada. That's who I am to the government. What are my interests? What do I care about? What am I passionate about? What do I pay for taxes? All these things, like all of that is chronicled. And once you accept broadly that we are just kind of like a collection of people like us, that we're not individuals, that we belong in a group of whatever that group is, not just race, but race and age and sexuality and income and all these things, right? It's all of those things.
Yeah.
I don't really know exactly where I was going with that, but I there's something important there to me that's like it undermines the notion of a nation by and for people, like, right? Like the people. It's not just like the collection. it is the collection and the individual.
Of course, yeah. There's the cohort and the individual view, right? Like there's addressing the needs of you could address the needs, for instance, of a demographic of people quite easily, right? Like if I think about like, hey, what is the problem with middle class America, right? Like, okay, they have student debt. There's a housing affordability crisis, right? Like you could kind of address those needs by like signing an executive order and being like student debt forgiveness and or like, hey, we're gonna build more homes. I'm creating these tax credits for construction, right? This will help alleviate the problem. But so even though we don't do it, but then there is the individual need where you have the cohort problem, which is like I am a married white male who lives in Brooklyn, New York, and I experience ABCDE issues which are the same issues that a lot of my peer groups experience, because this is just a thing that our cohort is known for experiencing.
Right.
But then you have your own individual problems, right, which are unique to you, but still need some level of addressing.
Yeah.
Right.
Mental health.
Mental health, right? Being a veteran, right? Like whatever that issue is.
Having difficulty finding employment.
Having difficult, yeah, exactly.
But those, so that's why I say the individual and the group, because both of those things, I want to let you finish actually. Like, go ahead.
Well, and so this is why I was saying like one of the important things of tying this all back to DEI is because you have needs that are not even being acknowledged because what you don't know is what you don't know. And so if you have an office, a government office that is filled with one type of person, they don't even know to look at your own personal issue.
Yeah.
They actually only can reflect on their own issues.
Right.
Right? And have you heard of the John Oliver effect or whatever?
No.
The John Oliver effect is basically saying like anytime John Oliver does an episode on something.
Wait, was John Oliver like reported to have died 10 years ago, and the fact that he's like not, is that the John Oliver effect? Oh, okay.
The John Oliver effect is the John Oliver show on HBO.
Of course.
Yeah. Anytime he reports on something, there's like this massive societal reaction to it.
Okay. Still?
Right now, yeah.
Oh, wow.
If he has an episode on like prisons, then like there's like an immediate call by activists to prison reform.
Thank God he's a pretty liberal guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so it's quite interesting, but like and I brought up the John Oliver effect because without diversity, that effect can't happen within the government. Right? You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
If I'm an employee of name any government agency.
FDA.
If I'm an employee of the FDA and I'm just looking at the standard like beef and chicken, and I don't even think of hey, there's a large swath of people that are consuming tempeh.
Yeah.
I don't even actually like, and I'm totally making this up.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
If I'm looking at it and saying like, hey, 90% and 95% of all protein consumption comes from beef, chicken, and fish, and I'm dedicating all of my research to that.
Yeah.
And I don't even have a single employee who's even heard of tempeh.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me just ask. Okay, so that is a very clear and obvious benefit for why, and I hesitate to even call it DEI because they fucking co-opted DEI too now, where it means to a lot of people it's now that's what they do. They take all of these positive things and sorry to get all they on you.
They
you not you
not you specifically.
Maybe you, I don't
those
know.
people behind you who are looking over your shoulder.
But they changed the meaning of the term DEI. It no longer means, to a lot of people, it no longer means, it no longer represents a movement to make corporate and public workspaces more complete, and like literally complete. You know, if you don't know that tempeh is a thing, right, you're incomplete. If you don't know that, you know, they eat with their hands in India, to use your examples, you are incomplete. You're not complete. And, you know, it's at least, we're never going to know everything about every culture, but it's worth trying to get that in the door. So, but
I mean, the goal is to remove the unknowns, as many as possible. Now, you're never gonna get 100%, but you're really trying. You're really trying.
yeah, of course. But the problem is that there are unknowns that arrive with DEI that upset the established order of things, right? Like the white male, straight presenting order of function in the United States. If you start to then say, oh, as a government by and for the people, I think that we need to have people of all stripes represented in our agency. With those other points of view come people who don't believe in capitalism. There come people who don't believe that you know, who believe that social good is more relevant immediately than, you know, revenue. And you have different, you start to work outside of the system. And that's why it's easy to hire people from Yale and Harvard, because you kind of like know what you're gonna get. Yes, they are likely smart. Yes, they may be talented. Yes, they may be skilled. But it's what they are representative of. Typically young, eager, ambitious, white kids, right? And you know how to guide them to help your organization thrive in whatever way you believe your organization needs to thrive. And once you invite different voices to that table, like actually different voices actually to the table, you lose power. You're giving away power. I watched Dune 2 nights ago. I'm bringing it up again.
Okay, let's talk about Dune, baby.
Just real quick, because I wrote it down, because I've been writing this stuff a lot. You know, in Dune 2, there is a moment where someone from the main character, Timothée Chalamet's past, returns to his life. And this person, this character, is representative of a previous life. A life that leads him on a road to revenge, as opposed to leading him on a road to peace and justice among the group of people who live on this planet, who are from this planet.
Right.
And what this character who comes in shows him is the family nukes, the family atomics, I think they call them. He's got like 92 like atomic warheads that have been stashed away for however long. And he winds up using them quite effectively in a battle at the end of the film. The Timothée Chalamet's character, he's just like a genius tactician. But he's not going to give them up. He used them well, and that's all he needed them for. And now we don't really need them anymore because they're super dangerous. No one's used them for thousands of years in the premise of this universe. But once you attain power, it is very appealing to retain
it. Yeah.
That's part of the problem, right? There's something very human about wanting to have control, wanting to have power, because it makes us feel safe. It makes us feel less threatened by others because we've got the upper hand or we've got control. I'm in control. I'm not worried about, you're a little different. You're a fucking menace to society. Okay? You're a menace to society. I don't trust you.
Right.
And yeah, so I think, I don't know, is that the problem with that people have with DEI? Maybe, but also there is also a revenue benefit, I think, at least in the short term, revenue benefit to keeping the status quo. Right? Like the more
The status quo being DEI or not DEI?
Oh, the status quo being white people in power.
Okay.
Right. Basically white men in power.
Right.
Because, you know how to make a profit on that. You know what the levers are. You know how to use the tools that you have. You know what the tools are at your disposal, and you could be authoritarian about it.
Yeah.
Once you invite diversity, equity, and inclusion into the room, then that authority gets complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And then thus you're kind of putting your revenue stream at risk. You're putting your fiduciary duties for quarter after quarter after quarter growth at risk, because I don't know what's going to come from this group of people telling me they don't like capitalism.
Yeah.
Or they think it's more important that people live healthy lives than for me to sell my product.
Right.
Or for me to sell my product as cheaply as I can.
Right.
That's why we have pollution and shit like that, right? Because people are looking for the least expensive way possible to make the best products possible and finding that balance. And unless there's a government agency telling us, oh, well, we kind of like need and want and like clean water, or want and like our forests or whatever, then it's their fiduciary duty to like, well, let's pollute a little.
This is interesting because I think that like what you just explained makes a lot of sense. But I also think the big problem with DEI is that is meritocracy.
Tell me.
Well, I think in many ways, like DEI was white men have historically been professionally working and being able to excel in their careers because of the good graces of their hard work and
That's not true.
their golfing and stuff like that, like their ability to like play the game.
That's not.
Now, I'll let you refute that. Let me just finish this point. I think that now people are saying, I didn't get promoted or I didn't get that job because a black person got that job or an Asian person got that job or someone else got that role. Yeah. And so now the pendulum has swung back to this like conservativeness where the DEI is not a thing, is because white people are feeling spited or smited for being passed up on opportunities that they think were inherently theirs, that belong to them. Yeah. And so that was the point that I was gonna make as to why the swinging back.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. I mean, all right.
Like it is almost there has been a meritocracy across white men who competed amongst each other for opportunities, and now they're like, oh, I actually have to let all these other people play as well.
Okay, I think that skill and capacity to do good work, as you say, I think it's even still today that when we hire and we take DEI into consideration when we hire, when I don't hire, I'm not in that position. I'm not a hirer, but I would imagine what you said in your example is that everyone's qualified. Everyone's good enough. Everyone in this room is good enough, right? But there are other considerations, right? Like there are DEI considerations. A couple of things. One.
And look, and I'm going to be super, super, super clear when you say DEI considerations. I don't even want to look at it and say DEI considerations. I would say, what does this candidate bring to the table that we don't already have?
Great.
that we don't already have. And putting race aside,
Yeah, sure.
right? If you think about like the swath of different personality types, right? Have you ever done like there's like a color wheel or
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
There's like
yeah.
I'm
I
gonna say
did
color wheel.
not EMDR, the
That's Myers-Briggs, I think.
Myers-Briggs. I did that one.
But there's like another one where there's like this color wheel and there's like red, yellow, green, blue, or whatever.
Okay.
With the red person is assertive.
Okay.
The blue person is logical. The green person is emotional, and the yellow person is like outgoing, social. And I work in finance, right, where everybody is blue. They're like super blue is like really analytical. They're like detail oriented. They do not. They can get lost in the data, right? Generally speaking, and I say this as I'm half red, half yellow or orange. I don't remember the color. Red is assertive. Yellow, orange is like social. I'm kind of like half and half.
Yeah.
I can look at data for 5 minutes and make a decision. Blue people will look at data for hours and say it's only 90% complete. I need more data, right? Generally speaking, from a data perspective, going from 0 to 90 maybe takes like 8 hours. Going from 90 to 100 takes 80 hours, right? But you're not getting a more complete view. If I show you a puzzle and 90% of the puzzle's put together, you could tell me what it is.
Yeah, well,
Most of the
you're just trying to compile data so you can make the best decision possible.
Exactly. But I'm telling you this is because this diversity of thought, this diversity of perspective really, really matters. Because if you have a finance team of all blue people, you guys can just all stare at the puzzle and try to figure out what it is, and you need more pieces.
Yeah.
Whereas you bring in one assertive person, they'll look and be like, the decision is X.
Yeah.
This is what we should do.
Yeah.
And you can just move on. Everybody gets back to working on the next thing.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's kind of like another important aspect of like that diversity of that diversity on the team of being like, well, what is it that we don't have on the team, right? Like, okay, like ignoring the race of that fifth person who may be black and the other four being white, everybody is good enough. But if you have an entire team of one personality type, it might be better to hire the person who's going to bring a unique perspective.
I mean, it's literally the same thing in procreation. It's the exact same thing in procreation of any species, is diversity. You don't want to just breed the same things over and over and over again. First of all, shit breaks down fast, right? But beyond that, you attain better skills. You grow. You may adopt beneficial traits that would not have existed unless you, right? So, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that diversity in any way, and with broad, what I mean to say is with like a broad definition of what diversity means, not merely racial diversity, but diversity in any way is and always has been beneficial to humanity.
Yeah.
But it's also very scary for the same reasons that I articulated with like in a boardroom with diversity of thought or diversity of experience coming in. It goes to, I mean, you can imagine, right, a tribe, right, being contacted finally by someone that's different.
Yeah. Scary.
And might be very scary. It might be very exciting. It all depends on your own culture. Or do you welcome the stranger, or are you afraid of what's different, right?
Well,
So that's part
I
of it
think
too.
human nature always swings toward self-preservation. So fear is always our first instinct, right?
Yeah.
And that's a survival mechanism.
Sure. Yeah, of
right?
course.
And whether it be an alien encounter, which is what we're having, with the tribe being exposed to another
Right.
type of person.
Right.
That's terrifying. I think their first instinct is to destroy and kill. To like I don't know if you bring peace or you bring war.
Yeah.
Right.
You're a
And
potential threat to me.
you're a potential threat to me, and that actually is something that we are experiencing day to day in the workplace as DEI brings different types of people into the office that
right.
you've never seen before. I think I think what I'm hearing is we're pro DEI.
Yes. Yes.
You're pro DEI.
What I am pro, here's what I'm pro.
Okay.
I am pro a world, but I'll start with a country, that everyone has the opportunity of life, liberty, and access to the pursuit of happiness. It should not be controversial. It's in a very early document of ours. And the more we try to hold on to the more white people try to hold on to our own power, the less likely that reality is to come to pass, because it requires control over others, and that control is suppression and oppression of others.
Of course. Yeah.
That's how we exert our control.
Yeah.
And until we absolve ourselves of this fear of the other, of the menaces, by the menace to society thing, right? As soon as we are able to accept that people, by and large, are just people trying to live, individuals trying to live, and it's really hard for a lot of people, then I think that we can hopefully come to a place where everyone feels safe, feels secure, has housing, has healthcare, adequate infrastructure, and can just live their life and pursue the things that they pursue, their happiness.
Yep.
Whether they think that that's financial happiness or financial security or a romantic relationship, whatever it is, being able to pursue that, I think, should be available to everyone. And what I think is happening now in this current climate is it's becoming less in vogue for a lot of people in this country, mostly white people, mostly conservatives, well, no, I'll explain why. Actually, I think it goes on both sides of the coin, if you want.
Yeah, please.
Is to white conservatives want to blah, 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 blah. I don't remember where I was going with that.
It's okay.
I'm not even stoned. I stayed up too late last night, though. But I do believe that that white people, I think white Southern Christians with a gun on their hip are very scary to liberals. Very, very scary. We are liberals by and large. I'm not, because my dad was a cop. I grew up around guns. We were in the Marines. Been around a lot of guns. I'm not afraid of white Southern liberals, but I don't really have much to fear, right?
Right.
I don't know if I would want to. I was thinking about this recently. How comfortable would I be with painted nails around? I might be a little scared too. How are they going to perceive me as a threat? Like,
right.
As a threat to their whatever
way of life.
Yeah. Right. But still, like, we are scared of what we don't understand, and we are scared of the other. And I think that the political parties, the Democrats, have decided that we are scared of, white Christians who like guns. I mean, there's a lot of valid reasons to be scared of folks like that. And the Republican Party has decided that diversity is what we should be afraid of. Tucker Carlson used to talk about on his show why diversity is bad. I was like, what the fuck?
They're coming for our way of life.
They're coming for our way of life.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity is bad. Diversity means that they want to fucking put, they want dudes with their dicks hanging out in the girls' bathroom, and fucking, they just use everything that they can to try to scare people.
Yeah.
Into control, into control. And I think that once that fear, if that fear can be alleviated, we will have a happier society, but there will be less control by the people who currently have the control. And that's scary to those people. So,
I'll have to find this for you because I think it's really funny. But there was this tweet that I saw years and years ago where they were like, why are white people, it said like, why are white people so afraid of becoming minorities? It's not like minorities are treated bad in this country or anything.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And but yeah, look, I can understand that. I can see why you would be afraid of losing your power and influence.
Yeah, of course.
I could see how a new social order would be incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be bad. Right?
No.
It doesn't have to be like it I think a live and let live society is possible, but it's got to come from culture. And we've got to see that in our media. Like our media has to portray that as a positive reality.
And I'll leave it here where it's always been like this mantra in the Black community where we're like, we're not asking for more, we're just asking for equal.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not asking for more, we're just asking for equal.
And yet there's still this like really predominant narrative among white people that they are coming for us.
Right.
When the cancel culture thing started, I was living in LA at the time, and two very well-off people asked me. One was white, the other was not. They were Persian, both Americans. If they were afraid that they were going to come for me next, as a straight white cis male, wasn't I afraid that they were going to come for me next? And the answer is no. I mean, I don't really think that there's anything to be afraid of. I think that the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. And I think that if we are afraid of the other coming for me next, then we are going to give those people something to be afraid of. And that's a problem. It's a big, big, big problem.
Yeah. The pervasive narrative.
So I don't know. I don't know if any of what I have these thoughts when I'm high, and I try to write them down, and I try to go, and I almost never reread my notes, but I should, so I at least kind of maybe feel like I have some. I don't know. I have no idea if anything what I said makes sense. I was happy to say it out loud.
I don't know if anything we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes.
Fuck you. That doesn't sound good.
Well, look, let's wrap here.
Yeah.
Let us know any of your thoughts in the comment section. Like us and subscribe, and
you don't have to tell me that it was cringe, because I feel like I already know so much of what I did and said, and how I look is cringe.
Yeah, well, here we are anyway.
All right.
Bye.
Later.